People, when you truly know how to discern, you'll stop asking questions and look at people's actions. So you will judge the tree by its fruit. Simply put, if you plant an apple seed, you get an apple tree. If you plant an orange seed, you get an orange tree. What is inside will eventually come outside. As above, so below. As within, so without. This is the law of one, the law of Ra, and oftentimes you'll hear this being referred to as the law of sowing and reaping, or even sometimes karma. You reap what you sow. It's all the same thing. So understand that communication can come in the non-verbal form or the verbal form. You have verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So the best way to go about life is to judge a tree by its fruit. So what this means is don't solely rely on what people say. Look at what they're doing. Vet their actions. So the individual that claims that they love you is cheating on you. Let's say it's an intimate relationship, for example. Well, that is not love. That is abuse. Love is positive. Abuse is negative. So oftentimes on this channel, you will see me use the Hawkins Scale by Dr. David R. Hawkins. And you can find the Hawkins Scale or this map of consciousness in great books such as Power versus Force, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, The Map of Consciousness, Letting Go, and so on. And a Hawkins Scale essentially lets you know where people are at a consciousness level. You will always hear me state that pathological narcissists are people that are based in their shame and they can't move past their pride. And this is what we call the third dimension. So you're dealing with people that did not develop past their lower ego. Now, there are very particular things that you will get from someone that is stuck in the third dimension. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel shame or you shouldn't feel guilt or you shouldn't feel anger or you shouldn't feel fear. You have emotions. You're going to feel emotions. But pathological narcissists are stuck in the third dimension, meaning that they're based in shame and they're unable to move past their pride. That is it. Nothing else exists. They do not have access to positive emotions. They do not have access to courage. They do not have access to neutrality. They do not have access to love. They do not have access to empathy. They do not have access to peace. So what they do have access to then is apathy. That is why they're so cold. They're shame-based people. They're also fear-based people. This is why they're riddled with anxiety. They may mask it, but they are riddled with anxiety. This is why oftentimes they're riddled with depression, because they have a whole bunch of anger bottled up inside. And this is the anger that metastasizes and becomes their narcissistic rage. Because they're based in shame and they can't move past their pride. And being filled with pride means that they believe that they are grandiose and that they are superior to you without merit. And perfect people do not need to change. So pride cometh before the fall and they fall right back down to shame. It is a type of arrested development. That is all she wrote as it relates to the pathological narcissist. So if you're dealing with a pathological narcissist, a narcissistic sociopath, a sociopathic narcissist, a toxic individual, an infidel that commits infidelity, vet the behavior. So as you go through life, you will traverse this world with much more grace if you judge a tree by its fruit. Is it a ripened fruit or is it an unripened fruit? Because pathological narcissists are unripened fruits. So you could be dealing with a pathological narcissist that is physically, again, their physical age now, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Some people are dealing with elderly narcissists in their 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. But you will see where at their core, they are somewhere between the ages of about 5 and 12 years old because people are not their bodies. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are spirit governing a body with the access to tools or faculties. namely our mind power, our willpower, and our emotions. So you will see we're at their core, they did not develop past the ages of about 5 and 12 years old. So we're talking about the average age of a third grader at about 7 or 8. And understand that when we're talking about arrested development here, we're talking about a maladaptive third grader. And this is summarized in the phenomenal quote by healer, author, and shaman Malidoma Patrice May, where he states that if you keep a person in an adolescent state, then they will act militaristically. An adolescent state means an underdeveloped state, a childlike state, a childish state, an unripened state. They will act militaristically, so they're going to be very volatile and violent. It is like putting a child at the wheel of a car. They're going to crash the car. They do not have the ability to drive. They did not develop the ability. So you'll see where they have an underdeveloped mind because they are losing their minds. They have an underdeveloped will, so they are impulsive and compulsive because when you develop your will, you will be highly disciplined. And they also have underdeveloped emotions. They're based in shame and they can't move past their pride. They do not have access to positive emotions like love and peace and joy. That is what you're dealing with. And this is why clinicians call this a personality disorder, or you will hear me refer to them as dark souls or lost souls, as underdeveloped souls, because they are unripened fruits. And people, if you've ever bitten into an unripened fruit, it's not a pleasant experience. Unripened fruits are like those horrible grainy apples that you find in the supermarket. They taste like cardboard. And when you bite into an unripened fruit, people, you know that something is missing. Something is off with this fruit. And unripened fruits come from plants where that plant did not get enough nourishment. It did not get enough nutrients in the soil. It did not get enough water or sunlight, so it developed to its fullest state, but it developed unripened. And you cannot put unripened fruits back on the tree because they're already fully grown. It is an underdeveloped fruit. It is missing elements. And the same applies to pathological narcissists. You are dealing with someone with a very severe psycho-spiritual arrested development. They have an impairment at the spirit level, at the mind level, at the emotional level, and at the level of willpower. And you see this in the physical. It manifests itself as abuse, as them neglecting you, as them being addicted to chaos, them being addicted to people, because all pathological narcissists are people addicts. And where you see one addiction, you most likely are going to see others. So they may also be addicted to porn, hoarding, drugs, meth, alcohol, pills. They may be shopping addicts, gambling addicts. They're also addicted to lying. They're pathological liars, etc., etc., etc. Anything to fill that gaping hole in their soul, because these people abandon themselves in childhood. And you can tell because, again, at their core, they behave somewhere between the ages of about 5 and 12 years old. So when you judge a tree by its fruit, you will save your time. You will save your life if you truly understand what it is to discern and not project. Do not project your consciousness onto a pathological narcissist. They do not think like you. Predators do not think like preys. Every day a gazelle wakes up and the gazelle knows that it has to run from a predator. And every day a lion wakes up and that lion knows that it has to hunt to eat. So it knows that it has to chase a prey. The lion is running towards the gazelle and the gazelle is running away from the lion. You do not think like a narcissist. Do not project your consciousness onto a narcissist. Similarly, understand people that every day a mosquito wakes up and the mosquito knows that it needs to find a host. And this is where you come in. Because pathological narcissists abandon their spirit. They abandon source. They abandon source energy. They abandon their light source. They abandon their core. So you now must be their new source of supply. So it is important to differentiate the different species that you have around you. Because some of these species are parasitic individuals, you see. Pathological narcissists are addicts. They're all people addicts. So they're addicted to people. And again, this is why they have to run off with a new supply. Again, they have to cheat. They are infidels. They will commit infidelity. That is what you get from individuals that are stuck in the third dimension. And this is why all of the coaches on YouTube, TikTok, etc. will tell you that you need to walk away. Go no contact. Go low contact. Gray rock if you can. But you cannot build with a pathological narcissist. They embody destructive energy. Mosquitoes don't come into your life to love you. They come into your life to drain you. They're parasites. They're doing exactly what they are designed to do. So do you know how to discern fruit? Do you truly know how to discern fruit? Or are you projecting your consciousness off onto a mosquito, a parasite? Mosquitoes do not think like you. Parasites do not think like you because you're not a parasite. So while you have a lot of love to give, understand that there are people that exist that do not have any love to give. Narcissists have shame to give. They have guilt to give in the terms of guilt tripping, you know. They have fear to give. They have anger and rage to give, and they have pride to give. Again, all of those negative emotions that you'll find down in the third dimension. That is what they have to give. And again, pride cometh before the fall. They fall right back down to shame. That is it. That is all she wrote. That is what you get from unripened fruits. So in closing, understand that as you traverse this earth, you will traverse this earth with much more grace if you understand how to judge a tree by its fruit. Because when you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. When you squeeze a grape, you get grape juice. And when you squeeze a pathological narcissist, what you're going to get is various types of neglect, chaos, and abuse. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for liking these videos and for subscribing. Ensure that you are subscribed for more important content. If you have any questions or feedback, go ahead and leave that in the comment section. Sheikah is the name. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.